Hi, Colin Ong here with Healthcare IT Today, and I'm excited to be coming to you live from the annual 2021 Medical Practice Excellence Conference or Leadership. And I'm here with my friend Andy, who I always get together with at this conference, and we end up talking about data and some of the latest things that are happening at MGMA.
Yeah.
So Andy, what's new?
A lot. At MGMA, really what we're thinking about is how do you use data to get smarter about practice excellence? So it's taking a look at what's out there today, what practices can get their hands on, and then really kind of almost amalgamating that information differently. So let me give you a for instance. Today we have data silos. Practices have data silos, but MGMA has data silos too. So we have a CRM just like any good practice does, tracking our members, finding out the demographics and all that stuff, but we keep physician compensation and cost information in different buckets. We keep their transaction information in different buckets. So at MGMA, we're creating a data lake, data warehouse, so we can put all that information together so we can get smarter about serving our members, smarter about serving our customers, but then our products evolve too. Because now I can pair information together like I've never been able to do before. So I can get more insightful, but I can also be faster to bring that information to bear to make it easier to analyze, not just for MGMA's purposes, but as we turn this information loose to the marketplace, they can get smarter about how to use it too.
So can you give me an example of something or a challenge, a question that with this data lake, with this consolidated information that you or a practice would be able to answer that they can't answer now or have difficulty answering now?
Yeah, so most groups today, as they consider value-based care, are first approached at, do you know your total cost of care? I don't care what specialty you're in or you're a primary care doctor. And when a payer turns to you and says, what's your total cost of care? They're getting at, what reimbursement levels do I need to get to make a profit, but also keep my costs down in payment back for your services? Most groups today don't have really much of an inkling on that. So we know our big cost drivers. It's physician compensation, it's APP and ancillary costs, right? It's medications, supplies, drugs, real estate, of course, technology costs.
Right.
That's it. I mean, there's other ancillary costs, but that's it. So if I compare a physician's compensation with some of the other operating costs tied to revenue, and if I know physician compensation, I know what they're doing CPT coding on, so I know their top cases. Now I can start to bring at a pretty rapid and a pretty accurate basis somebody's profitability analysis at a quick glance. And so for practices out there who are considering, do I enter into these sorts of contracts and how is my performance going to be in those contracts? And they're struggling just to wrap their arms around how do I get at least, at worst, a quick and dirty, if not a really pretty close to accurate assessment of where my total cost of care is so that I know if I enter into these contracts, I'm going to do well, or not going to do so well, right. I do want to do this or I don't want to do this.
Right, so you can make a more informed decision now when getting into these contracts with payers. Interesting, okay. Anything else that's happening on the radar for MGMA in terms of new surveys or things that are happening in the new year?
Yeah, actually I'm pretty excited to be talking about what was our practice operations and cost survey. We're evolving that survey to be what we believe to be the first ever value-based care cost survey. So what we're going to do is we've stripped out some of the questions that don't have a whole lot of meaning as being told by our users,
right?
And replacing them with some of this value-based care stuff. There's been tons of surveys done out there, so we're far from the first to do a survey, but I think the difference that MGMA brings is our operating background, better understanding what those operating costs are in terms of value-based care reimbursement so that groups, like I said before, can get smarter about it. And so we're going to start to extract information from practices about their participation in value-based care, things like care management costs, things like supply costs, things like bundled payments. So if we can get a sense of both kind of what current arrangements are paying and kind of where the expense lies in the group, I think we're going to be able to present a pretty different picture. And MGMA is known for its unbiased, right? We're an agnostic third party over this information. So I'm not reliant on my ACO or my pop health platform or somebody who has skin in this game And I think that's the value that MGMA brings to the table, and we're excited to launch that this spring.
You've been at the show now for a few days. What's on the lips of the folks you've run into in terms of the conversations you've been overhearing, the conversations that people are having with you?
Sure.
Is there any one topic or two topics that have emerged as like, wow, top of mind?
I mean, clearly it's being back together, right?
It's number one.
It's hard. It's hard not to be excited about being face to face again. But I think the quick spin from that is what's happened to our industry in the pandemic, other than the management of an incredible burden, is we've gotten insular. So all I've been able to do is think about my providers, the patients I'm serving, my practice and its viability. Now that we're not post-pandemic, but coming out of the pandemic, people are starting to gather again, it's like the blinders have been removed, right? Now I can explore what other people have been doing. I can talk to other service providers about what's gone well, what positive can we take from this really down time? And I think that's the positivity that the industry kind of always brings. Yes, we talk a lot about our problems, and we got a lot of them, but I think the optimism here has really prevailed. And people are excited again about like bringing some of their lessons learned to bear and really making an impact going forward.
Cool. And what in 2022, when we're in Boston together, what are we going to be talking about? What's going to be on the list? What's going to be the hot item, you think?
I'm bullish. We'll see. I mean, in Boston, we're going to be a month before a midterm election. And so I think what's going to spin up is this notion of nationally, we're not going to be, on a referendum of Obamacare again. I don't think we're going to be talking about single payer stuff again. But I think this notion of cost is in the drumbeat across our country is just going to get louder and louder and louder about cost management, right?
Sure.
We're seeing it play out on the national political scene, but we've been talking about it for a long time in medicine. It's going to keep, the drumbeat's getting louder, and people are starting to get frustrated with cost. And so I was in a session just now talking about 10 different states who have cost limits on care. States are going to get more aggressive. Medicaid and Medicare funding is going to get squeezed. It's only going to get more problematic. And so groups are going to be forced into efficiency, better cost structure maintenance, and I think that kind of tightening, this value thing we've been talking about for a decade is coming true. And whether you're looking at Social Security or Medicare funds being lower and lower and lower as a percentage of population,
right,
or you're looking at reimbursement rates that continue to get shrunk and stripped down, it's problematic for physician groups. And so we've got to come up with solutions. And I think that's what we're going to be talking about in 2022.
Awesome. Final question for you as we sort of, to our audience and obviously to the folks here at MGMA, what is the one thing you'd want them to take away from this year's conference?
The excitement of being back together, right? I mean, it's hard not to be just super excited about it. And I think being together, whether it's your friends, going out to a restaurant with your family, or getting together with professional colleagues, I think the country's been craving some optimism, right? And I think it's events like this, it's people getting back into the workplace in a different way. Let's ditch Zoom for a little while. I love Zoom, let's stay on it, but let's do both, right? And I think it just brings energy and positivity. And that's been the overwhelming thing. But I think as we carry into 2022, it just feels better. It feels good.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for spending some time with us
You got it,
today and
Colin.
giving us a little sneak peek as to some of the things you're working on.
You got it.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. This has been Colin Hung with Healthcare IT Today. Thanks for watching.